I want to talk about karmics. Most that are involved with spirituality have a karmic family. I do too. My karmic family does not like me. They gave me up for adoption in 1968. I know that I had a twin sister. I know I do. And I know that there was a father of me. There had to be. The woman that gave birth to me has never, ever told me the truth about my father. And she has never mentioned my identical twin, because I do have one. And I speak with her on the other side. I do. Sue is the type of a karmic that will pursue you no matter what. She didn't really have much of a choice in this, as she has developed quite a bit of karma through several lifetimes. Her and her daughter absolutely despise me because I'm not like them. I'm not a Wicca. Okay, I'm my mother that raised me, that loved me. She was Catholic. When I got into spirituality, I looked into my ancestors. They are Viking. I'm Scandinavian, so I'm told. Sue was a pathological liar, so is her daughter. They were, and they were witches, and they were pretty rude about it. And this has gone on for my whole life with them. In 2005, I moved in with a man that I didn't know very well, but he seemed pretty good. He was a professional. He had been in the military for 20 years. His name was Mike. I moved in with him, and several years after I had lived there, I had moved out. And then I ended up going back there after I had moved out. And I couldn't figure out why, because once I moved out, I was happy to be out and all of that. But something really made me move back to his apartment. And I did not want to. I moved back there and I stayed there for a little bit longer. I finally got some money and I moved myself out of there again. And then about 6 months later, I moved back in. And a month after that, I moved out. This was happening and it wasn't good. This last time I moved out, I stayed out. It had I don't know what it was. At the time, I really didn't know. I started getting into my spirituality when I did live with Mike. I started going to church, and he was not happy about this at all. I was going to have a priest come bless his house because it seemed like there was a lot of weird stuff going on in there. And when I brought it up to Mike, he said, "You're not going to bring a priest into my house, ever." And I was taken aback. This is one of the reasons why I moved out, because it concerned me. And then being forced to move back there, knowing I really didn't want to go. And this happened several times. I could not figure it out. Finally, I got out of there and away from him. And I was told that basically Mike had sold my soul to the devil. Him and his family were devil worshippers. So I had to go in with Mother Mary and Father God and try and fix this. I mean, I didn't sell my own soul, but because the man I lived with did sell my soul, which I didn't really understand how that worked. I didn't, because I was having a lot of trouble hearing Mother Mary back then. This was like in 2009, 2008, 7, 6. I mean, I kept trying to get away from this guy. But at any rate, I went with them and got into my spirituality. And I stayed in it for quite a bit. I've been working with Father God and Mother Mary my whole life. I have been. But I went into like isolation, you could say, in 2015. and I have been doing a life review for a very long time. But because Mike sold my soul, that had to get worked out. I understand that once they do something like that to you, you are placed under a house in hell. And you have to get a hold of an archangel, Zapkael, to assist you to get you out from underneath that house. And that is only going to happen with Mother Mary and Father God. A boyfriend of yours can sell your soul and you not be aware of it. This has happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to others. I stayed with Mother Mary for quite a while, till about, and I didn't leave them or nothing, but I was like strictly just between us and them from that time on until about 2017, I would say in October, somewhere in there, that I took a little break. A childhood friend of mine named Russ popped up. He was a childhood friend of mine, and I did know him pretty well. So Russ started to date me, and it didn't feel good. About 6 months after I dated him, I had a dream, and there was Russ in my spiritual house. By the way, I had a dream with Mike, and I caught him in my spiritual house. We all have a spiritual house. We all do. At night when we go to sleep, we can't go there if we have one. Some have them, some don't. I happen to have one. I did catch Mike doing that to me in a dream. He was in my spiritual house. And I caught Russ popping up in my spiritual house. And when I caught Russ, I sat down and I told him, look, I'm not married to you. What are you doing in my spiritual house? I seen you there. And he said, well, it's pretty obvious what I'm doing there. You invited me in. And I was like, what do you mean? Well, I mean, you had sex with me. Well, yeah, I did, but that doesn't mean that you're married to me and you have a right to be in my spiritual house, because you're not. And he begged to differ. This person, Russ and Mike, they were horrible gossips in this town. But they also had a silver tongue in this town. So Russ, he was a tow truck driver. He was associated with the police department. I've seen him talk to a police officer for 2-3 hours. And this is every day. He's very well connected with them. Mike had a group of men that he hung out with on the weekend. I didn't know what that was about. But his mother's name was Broomhilda. So there's that. These two men stopped me right there, dead in my tracks. I'm not dating anymore. I came back to my spiritual. I didn't leave my spirituality during that time, but I was dating somebody, and let's just say I wasn't as tuned in. I broke up with Russ. I broke up with Mike. I had no idea that these guys were witches who travel around in the spiritual realm, raping women at will. Russ is someone who can do that because of a spiritual gift he has. Mike, the same. People have to have a certain spiritual gift to rape your soul in the spiritual realm. They have to have a certain one to do that. Well, Russ and Mike clearly did have that, because I woke up in a dream one night and Russ was behind me, and in front of me were 3 little demons, and I jumped up. I kicked him out of this house that we were at, whatever. It was not a good time.